I call to order this special call meeting on August 26, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection. During this time, please feel free to offer your silent prayers or thoughts in support of the Henderson County Public Schools or engage in silent reflection. Thank you. You may be seated. Then y'all can take a look at the agenda. I'll take a motion when ready.
I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Any discussion? All in favor? Against? Motion carries. Blair wants to know if Kathy can hear.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Blair.
So we'll make sure you're there.
Thank you, Blair, again. And before we start, though, I thought it was so cool with your weekly letter that you wrote about our SRO. When I got a picture, I took a look at the picture, and I figured you always hear to get down on your knees to look at the child in the eye. He got lower than the child. The child was sitting in a seat, and he got down on the pavement, sitting down on the pavement. And I thought, it's just really cool, the kind of people that we have, and it really meant a lot to me reading that.
Yes, sir. That parent shot that to me last week and was super appreciative and talking about that kind of servant leadership, that he was able to actually not come leave his work site because the wife was having a little bit of a struggle there, and just wanted to pass that along. It's obviously Officer Chuck Taylor, who's just an outstanding school resource officer, as we have just a whole division worth of outstanding school resource officers, and right place in the right man at the right place at the right time. Certainly a compassionate individual, and shows when we talk about school resource officers, obviously school safety is number one, but there's so many other pieces to it that are proactive that I love to see that investment, and really appreciate the sheriff's office and investment and the moves that they've made to put the right people in our schools.
Yeah, that was great. Okay. Old business, Berkeley Mills. Are you leading this, or is our lawyer leading this?
Well, what we've got is it's a carryover. It's a carryover from our previous meeting, where you all had authorized what it would be like to enter into a partnership with the Board of Commissioners on a recreation complex. What we have available here is 3 documents that would make that possible. The number one thing is, after you all met, the Board of Commissioners met and then chose Berkeley as the preferred site. So that takes some legal doings, if that is your wish as a board to enter into these agreements. What you have on the screen right now is what that developed site could look like. It has all of the elements in it that you had requested as a board in consideration for this exchange. It shows 4 full-size soccer fields, which would be a big benefit to the community. We have a lot of our students who are playing soccer. That is a growing sport and seems to be growing exponentially in this community. And it also looks at the baseball field that is there, that is currently used by Henderson County Public Schools, as well as put spots there for a softball field for the same purpose and for the tennis courts. One of the things in the agreement is making sure that those facilities, once they're built, would meet the NCHSAA specs, our High School Athletic Association, and that is in there as well. So we took the elements that were in your letter and the elements that the county's working on with the ARPA funding that they're utilizing, and we have worked with the county attorney and the county manager to put this interlocal agreement together. And then I'll let Mr. Campbell take you through that interlocal agreement. If that is acceptable to the board, then your other documents go right along with what it takes to transfer title to that property. One being you have to declare it surplus and offer it to the county per general statute. And then the last document, if all of that goes to suit you as a board, then there's a special warranty deed there that would make that act official. And I would suggest taking those one at a time. And Mr. Campbell, if you just want to talk about the interlocal agreement.
That would be fine. And Mr. Chairman, board members, good morning. Very happy to be here. This is a lot of work that went into this in a very short time frame. It was excellent to work with the county staff, county attorney, and we pulled all this together very quickly, obviously with the leadership of the county manager and your superintendent. So you've got 3 documents, 2 of which you're being asked to approve today. The deed is actually something that the chair and the superintendent are authorized to execute as part of the surplus resolution. So you'll only be taking 2 votes today. And the vote in which, the order in which you'll go is first you'll declare the property surplus, because that is the thing that statutorily then gives you the ability to offer to the commissioners, and the interlocal agreement is your offer to the commissioners that they've agreed to accept for how the property is going to be utilized. So let's start with the resolution, if you don't mind, and we can put that up on the screen. It is the full property. You'll see it's track 1 and track 2. Track 1 being the 17.31 acres and track 2 being the 21.3 acres. And goes on to say that whereas the board is agreeing pursuant to an interlocal agreement for certain construction work to be done on the property on your behalf or to your benefit, that General Statute 115C 518 allows you to declare property unnecessary for school purposes. Don't let that hang you up. That is the statutory language that you are required to use. So yes, you are going to declare it surplus, convey it to the county, and then you will have certain rights to use it for athletic purposes, and I'll describe those in just a minute. And then, of course, there is a construction agreement that goes along with it. So the resolution is very simple. Under Section 1 at the bottom of the page, you declare it surplus. Under Section 2, you request that the County of Henderson acquire the property for the purposes of constructing the project we'll talk about in just a minute under the general statute, and thereafter manage the property in accordance with the interlocal agreement. And then Section 3 that I mentioned a minute ago, the chair, superintendent, and finance officer are authorized to execute in the board's name as its act, a deed conveying the property to the county, and to take such other action that they deem necessary for accomplishing the purposes of the resolution. So you don't need to vote on this yet. Let me go over the interlocal as well, but any questions about the surplus resolution? You've done these many times, and you did it in conjunction with acquiring this property when you did this for Edwards Park. So any questions about the surplus resolution? Okay, wonderful. Let's look at the interlocal agreement. So this interlocal agreement in paragraph number 1 says that you are going to be conveying the property to the county immediately, simultaneous with the execution of this agreement, subject to a reversionary clause. And that's the important part of this document. So if you look at that last 2 sentences in paragraph 1, it says this conveyance shall take place simultaneous herewith, subject to a reversionary clause in the event that Henderson County does not enter into a construction contract for the facilities by January the 1st of 2025. And the county is fine with that date. They are on an expedited schedule because they have to commit the ARPA funds. So they're okay with that date as well. With the exception of that reversionary clause, then you shall convey marketable fee simple interest to the commissioners, and I'll review that in just a minute. The part that you really care about is number 2. In contracting for the design, the county will cause the park to be designed with 6 tennis courts and a women's softball facility, both meeting the North Carolina High School Athletic Association specifications. You will have priority use of the existing baseball field on the property and the future use of the tennis courts and softball facility during and for a reasonable time in advance of the applicable competitive seasons for such fields, courts and facilities in cooperation with the Henderson County Parks and Rec. So obviously, you will continue to have priority use of all 3 facilities prior to the beginning of the competitive season and during the competitive season for all 3. Number 3, in constructing the park, the county will contract and pay for the grading work for the 6 tennis courts and the softball facility. Number 4, they will construct the tennis courts and softball facility if and when funds are available to the county for the same. My understanding is that they do have to spend all of the funds on this property, so they can't commit to building the facilities, but if there's additional money, in good faith, they've agreed to take a look at that. In the meantime, if you were to determine you had sufficient funds, either through fund balance or other sources, then you could go ahead and fund construction. And I like that phrase because obviously you'll be involved in the design of the tennis courts, of the softball field, but the county would actually be doing the construction management and all of that, which saves you significant dollars to not have to use legal staff and your staff to oversee. So you would be potentially funding the building of those facilities, but that would not be in a direct contract with you because obviously after this, you would no longer own the property. I want to go over the reversionary clause in the deed quickly, but before I do, any questions about this interlocal agreement? You are guaranteed the facilities to be graded. Over and above that, it's good faith. Either the county will build them and/or you could fund the building of those facilities. Any questions at all? Excellent. All right, let's look at the deed quickly. I'm going to show you that your interests are protected. This is a special warranty deed. You'll see that at the very top. That means you did nothing to impair ownership rights of the property while you owned it, other than easements, restrictions, things of record. So that's what a special warranty deed. It does not mean you are warranting it since the beginning of time. It means you did not do anything to impair the property. If you'll flip the page, the second whereas just is going to refer to, at the top of the second page, is going to refer to the resolution that you're about to adopt in a few minutes that gave the chair and the superintendent authority to execute this deed. The next witness is that this deed conveyance is in consideration for an interlocal agreement. It then refers to the 2 tracts we discussed earlier, Tract 1 and Tract 2, 17.31 acres and 21.3 acres. You then flip the page to the third page, and this is where the agreement is memorialized. At the very top, this conveyance is made subject to easements of record for existing roadways, public utilities, and other matters shown on the referenced plat. So again, we know that this is a schematic representation of what the park may look like. It is not a final plan. Obviously, the county will be working around easements and other things and working with the city on some of that. Second of all, the interlocal agreement will be attached to the deed in the Register of Deeds office, and this says that the terms of that agreement are incorporated here by reference and shall survive closing as indicated below. So actually, this deed will actually be executed by both you and the county because this deed also is a contract. It's a contract for services. So we're incorporating the interlocal actually in the deed. So that's further protection for you. And then the fee simple determinable with possibility of a reverter. This conveyance is made on the condition that the grantee shall enter into 1 or more contracts for site preparation and grading for the project no later than January the 1st. In the event that the county has not entered into contracts by that date, then the property shall automatically revert to the grantor. So you don't have to do anything. it will revert back to you automatically as a matter of law. The conveyance is further made subject to the express condition that the property shall be used only for the purposes described in the deed and the interlocal agreement. In the event that it is not used for those purposes, then it shall automatically revert back to you. And my understanding is John Henning in my office has reviewed this with the county attorney, and there is agreement at the attorney level with the language that's in the deed. And I believe that Mr. Mitchell also has run it by some commissioners at a time.
You know, I've come to agreement on that as well.
So that is basically the way this works. If there is any action triggering the reverter, then it comes back to you. Otherwise, your chair and your superintendent are authorized to execute this agreement. So fairly straightforward. Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I recommend you vote separately on the surplus resolution first and the interlocal agreement second.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. Just one, you know, with all of this said, 2 special meetings by us plus a special meeting by the county. And we've talked about this for quite some time. Do we have reasonable expectation that this is going to suffice for the 5 members of the county commissioners?
My communication with the county manager has been that they've been lockstep at the attorney level of this and also at the executive level with he and I.
But you never know how somebody's going to vote, right? But
I don't know how y'all are going to vote.
What do you mean, like?
like, is
explain what
this
you're asking.
acceptable? Is there anything else that we're missing? Is there anything else that we need to do? Is there anything else that we didn't answer that they asked in that last meeting? Are we done?
Not that's come up at my level, sir.
Right.
We've been in close contact with the county manager and the county's attorneys, but that's all as far as I've gotten. So as far as, you know, they're meeting tomorrow, if something comes up, it could very well come up.
Yeah.
But as far as we know, according to the county manager and according to the county attorneys, we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I know
Do you know they've had a preview of the interlocal agreement?
Sure.
They have seen that.
diversionary clause and everything.
Yes, sir. They've had access to all that. Mr. Mitchell has shared that with them.
Yeah, I just, they had a couple of questions, and I think, number one, they wanted the property in their hands before they committed to putting any dollars towards it. This gives them that, but it also protects us on the back end in case, for whatever reason it doesn't happen, the property automatically reverts back to us, which I think is good language in the contract. And then also, this special warranty deed releases us from anything else that we dealt with the city when we split those 2 parcels initially, as far as the easement that runs down the middle of the property is now to be worked out between the county and the city. It releases us from everything, from all easements, anything that we put on there during our time.
That's right. And again, one of the reasons we didn't want you to approve the deed is that things can always come up, and things can come up from financing entities. I don't know if the county is going to try to use the ARPA funds for financing or if it's a cash deal and all of that. But obviously, this board is approving it with a reversionary clause if the contract is not executed. So that is a etched in stone requirement. Otherwise, if there were minor changes that were requested by financing counsel or something like that, we've got the flexibility to do that.
But also, the reversionary clause states that if it's not used in this manner as well, it would be reverted back to the Board of Education.
And again, there may be a financing entity that says, as to us, we can't be bound by that until the loan is paid off.
Okay.
So we've got the flexibility to modify that. That is standard. Obviously, no lender is going to lend on a piece of property that they actually can't use as collateral.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's why we're not having you approve the deed in case little things like that come up.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Anybody else?
Mine isn't so much necessarily on this part. I'm just thinking about the homeowners that surround that. And it's reflective more than anything. You know, you don't want to see such a positive turn into such a negative to those that are locally. So for those that are listening, I'd like for that to be taken into consideration and possibly talk with those landowners.
Yeah, I think this has come up a couple of times on the county side, and everybody's going to do all they can to maintain the natural beauty, maintain any nearby residences, their privacy. We'll do all that we can. I mean, it won't be us, but it's been said that every effort will be to, maintain the natural beauty of the area. So.
Yes, I'm ready to make a motion whenever you're ready, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair.
Do you have something, Alyssa? You look like you were thinking about something.
So, correct me, we're not voting on the deed today, but we're saying that we're giving a select few the ability to do that on our behalf. But when would that be done?
We're going to go ahead and execute all of these documents if you approve them today
Okay.
and send them over to the county.
Okay.
Is that okay?
No better time than the present.
Dr. Revis, you listening?
Yes, I am, Jay.
You have any questions?
I do not. Thank you for all your work on this.
Well, we all have been working very hard, so I appreciate you zooming in and being a part of this. Mr. Craven?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement as presented.
Hold on, the
You
resolution.
want the resolution first?
Resolution first, in order.
I take that back. I will make a motion to approve the resolution declaring surplus the Berkeley Park property, both Tract 1 and 2.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My next motion, I would like to make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, we don't need to make any other motions as far as the warranty deed, because that's covered in the interlocal agreement, correct, Counselor? Correct. All right, so we're done?
Well, two things I want to say. One is Mr. Craven has been working on this for how many years?
6 or 7.
A long time. And I have not been, Mr. Craven's been carrying the water and I have not been helping and, but lately, our positions changed and I was forced to get into it, but I really appreciate what Blair has been doing. He made my job extremely easy, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then second of all, I think this is going to be maybe not necessarily turning the page, maybe not necessarily starting a new chapter, but in my mind, it is going to be turning the page and starting a new chapter, and that's with everybody working together, the city, the county, the Board of Education, just everybody working together for the good of the county, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this happens.
You're here.
Any other comments?
I just want to say thank you to the Board of Commissioners. Without them choosing to use this $9 million and, choosing to invest in this property, we would never have that kind of money, or at least probably not in our lifetime, with all the other needs that we have to, financially choose to make. So I'm really thankful to them and their willingness to help us, that we can all work together. I think it's going to be really great, and I look forward to seeing it come to life. I know also that it's been mentioned that the construction that they're going to be, I just want to make sure it's said that they're going to be as sensitive as they can during the sports season, because we do currently and have been using the baseball field. So they, are going to do their best to have there be safe and parking, because we're going to continue to play there through the season, and there's going to still be obviously a lot of work being done. So they're going to do their best to accommodate as well as possible to, so we can continue playing and the families can still come and have somewhere to go. It may be kind of creative or at least this season, but, so I'm really thankful to all of their work.
I agree. They could have, I know they were talking about broadband. There's some other items they could have been used for, so I do appreciate the commissioners choosing to work with us on developing Berkeley. So that was nice. Anything else? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
We're adjourned.